Okay, for tutorial 3 we're reviewing the Dungeon Tiles module. This module basically is setting up the geometry based on where the geometry appears. For example, here if it's a wall that's to the east, it sets it up and it sets up the UVs. To understand this whole module, you'd really want to investigate one of these because all of these are similar. It's just some of the things change depending on what direction things are heading. These differ in that they are just one large piece, the floor and the ceiling. That optimizes the program a lot. And but to really understand the whole gist of what everything does in this file, you'd want to investigate all this code. This is relatively low-level code, and I'm not actually going to get into it much at all. I'm going to be doing a tutorial later on how to analyze code, so if you want to get into this and analyze what it's doing, have at it. But it's basically just creating the squares for the walls, ceilings, and floors, setting up the UVs, and just setting up the specifics. Like, for example, with the floor, it's going to be just one piece instead of small pieces, like the walls, and same with the ceiling. Okay, and then we're going to go into the dungeon module itself. The dungeon module is actually the part where it actually builds geometry, and it's passing in the array, and let's see, wall path, floor path, and ceiling path are all textures for the walls, ceilings, and floors, and scale factor, that just sets the size of the squares. And we go into Blender Game, set it to GLSL, set the cursor to 0, and let's see, then we're just going through the array, and based on what we see in the array, we look for locations for, let's see, we get, okay, and then we find any instance that's not equal to solid rock. So if it doesn't equal 8, so then we get x times the scale factor. If there's a wall in the -x direction, we build one, and this is where we refer to the Dungeon Tiles module. Notice how each one of these lights up right here. Just as in the last module, this right here, and this right here do not really vary very much. They all do the same thing. It's just there's little changes based on what direction the UV is facing, etc. And then I'm just naming it like y-axis wall east. Wall path would be the actual texture that goes on it, and then we have the x and y coordinate and the z coordinate. We pass in the scale factor, and then we go to the origin and build the floor and the ceiling as full size, one piece for optimization, and then we select all for scaling, and that does it for this module.